A waitress working for a milk tea shop in the urban area of East China's Nanjing City could never imagine that one day she would encounter a tusky intruder, a fully grown wild boar, face to face. The unimaginable encounter was captured by the shop's security camera and became a social media sensation after the footage went viral. Mr. Shi, the waitress, was at the shop alone when this tusky intruder broke into the door. Security camera footage shows that the 100 kg wild animal goes on a rampage in the shop, forcing the screaming waitress to crawl over the counter before it stormed out of the shop. After the boar left, she immediately called the police. Receiving the call, police officers rushed to the site to spot the wild animal, with locals and wildlife conservationists joining the search operation. After spotting the boar, the police cordoned off the workshop and took the suggestion of the conservationists from a local wild park to subdue it with a tranquilizer gun. They managed to incapacitate the boar with the tranquilizer gun and then took it to a local zoo. Staff of the zoo thoroughly checked the wild boar up and said it was a fully grown healthy male weighing around 100 kg. Police are still trying to find out where the wild boar came from. A new national lockdown in England may have to last longer than the planned 4 weeks if coronavirus infection rates don't fall quickly enough. The lockdown, announced Saturday by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, is to run from Thursday until December 2nd. Johnson says it's needed to stop hospitals from becoming overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients within weeks. Cabinet ministers Michael Gove said it was the government's fervent hope that the lockdown would end on time, but that could not be guaranteed. Under the new restrictions, bars and restaurants can only offer take-out, non-essential shops must close, and people will only be able to leave home for a short list of reasons including exercise. Hairdressers, gyms, golf courses, swimming pools and bowling alleys are among venues that must shut down, and foreign holidays are barred. Unlike during the UK's first 3-month lockdown earlier this year, schools, universities, construction sites and manufacturing businesses will stay open. Police in Quebec City arrested a man on suspicion of killing 2 people and injuring 5 others in a stabbing rampage on Halloween near the provincial legislature. Quebec police said in a tweet their initial information indicates the motive was personal. Police had earlier warned residents to remain indoors as they hunted for a man dressed in medieval clothing and armed with a bladed weapon who had left multiple victims. The 5 injured victims were taken to a hospital, and a spokeswoman said their lives do not appear to be in danger. Police have asked any potential witnesses to contact them. Fighting over the separatist territory of Nagorno-Karabakh entered 6th week, with Armenian and Azerbaijan forces blaming each other for new attacks. Nagorno-Karabakh officials accuse Azerbaijan of targeting the towns of Martuni and Matakart with military aviation and firing missiles at the town of Shushi. Azerbaijan's defense ministry rejected the accusations of targeting civilian settlements and accused Armenian forces of firing at the positions of the Azerbaijani army on the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. The ministry also said Armenian forces were shelling settlements in the regions of Tatar and Akzabadi. Nagorno-Karabakh lies within Azerbaijan but has been under the control of ethnic Armenian forces backed by Armenia since a war there ended in 1994. The latest outburst of hostilities began September 27 and has left hundreds, if not thousands, dead, marking the worst escalation of the decades-old conflict between the two ex-Soviet nations in over a quarter century. According to Nagorno-Karabakh officials, 1,166 of their troops and 45 civilians have been killed. Azerbaijani authorities haven't disclosed their military losses, but say the fighting has killed at least 91 civilians and wounded 400. Russian President Vladimir Putin said, according to the Moscow's information, the actual death toll was significantly higher, nearing 5,000. The fighting has continued after 3 ceasefires failed to hold and despite calls for peace from around the globe.
Stanford University In recent months, Trump has held several dozen rallies in states such as Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, where coronavirus infection rates were already on the rise. Many among the packed crowds were not wearing masks, creating a risk of spreading the virus as they cheered Trump on. An infectious disease expert at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security told Reuters the Stanford paper was, quote, suggestive of spread from the events, but not definitive because it was not based on an investigation of actual infectious such rallies can be. But the United States has fallen behind other developed countries in this regard due to a lack of funding and coordination for contact tracing by the Trump administration.
We choose hope over fear.
With the race for the presidency approaching its end, Democrat Joe Biden holds a commanding national lead over President Donald Trump, but polls show a tight race in several key battleground states.
Tough out here.
Hoping to tip those states in his favor, Trump on Sunday kicked off a frenzied 5-state tour starting in Rust Belt, Michigan, a state he won in 2016, but in which Biden's lead has slightly widened in the final days of the campaign, according to Reuters Ipsos polling released on Sunday. Bracing himself against the cold in the town of Washington, Michigan.
Does anybody have a coat I could use, please?
Trump, who trails Biden by 10 percentage points in the state, touted his efforts to revive the auto industry.
We brought back your car industry. Your car industry was finished. You would have had nothing left.
Since Trump took office, however, employment in manufacturing related to motor vehicles in Michigan has fallen by about 5,000 jobs.
You think it could be any windier up here?
And in Iowa, where polls show a tight race, Trump's message to voters was that he, not Biden, is the best person to manage the nation's economic recovery from the pandemic.
We're going to have the best year next year. We're set for it.
Despite trailing Biden nationally, Trump is still close to his Democratic challenger in enough battleground states to give him the 270 state electoral college votes needed to win a second term.
Get out and vote.
With Reuters Ipsos polls showing the race remains a toss-up in Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona.
We're done. We're tired of the tweets.
Biden campaigning in closely contested Pennsylvania on Sunday underscored the importance of a win there on November 3rd.
President Trump is terrified of what will happen in Pennsylvania. He knows that the people of Pennsylvania get to have their say. If you have your say, he doesn't stand a chance.
And he implored his supporters to turn out to vote on Tuesday.
There's too much on the line to sit it out. We only have 2 more days. 2 more days we can put an end to this presidency that has from the very beginning sought to divide us, to tear us apart.
The final push by both candidates comes amid an unprecedented turnout in early voting. Americans have already cast a record-breaking 93 million early votes, either in person or by mail, according to the U.S. Elections Project.
This is the moment police came to arrest Hong Kong lawmaker Andrew Wan, in the latest move by authorities amid a broader crackdown on anti-government forces. Wan was among 7 prominent opposition politicians arrested early on Sunday on charges relating to the obstruction of a legislative council meeting in May. Police said 6 men and 1 woman had been arrested, and that the group included current and former lawmakers. The The 7 were later released on bail and several of them appeared at a media briefing, at which one of the detained, chairman of the Democratic Party Wu Chi-wai, described the incident as absurd and intended to create a chilling effect to make people more cautious with their words and actions. The move comes 4 months after Beijing imposed a contentious national security law that has seen some activists flee for safe havens overseas. Though the arrests did not appear to be linked to that law, widely condemned by Western governments and human rights groups, which punishes what Beijing defines as secession, sedition, terrorism and collusion with foreign forces.
Sister, I am really scared. Can you hold my hand? Those were the words of 16-year-old Inci Okan as she was pulled from the rubble of an 8-story building in Turkey on Saturday. Along with her dog Fistik, she was rescued 17 hours after the strong earthquake struck the province of Izmir. The death toll from Friday afternoon's quake rose to over 50 on Sunday. Turkish authorities have announced most of the deaths in the coastal city of Izmir, while 2 teenagers died on the Greek island of Samos. The quake destroyed at least 20 buildings in Izmir, causing panic and setting off tidal waves that slammed into coastal areas and islands. Once in hospital, Okan met with her rescuer from the National Medical Rescue Team. She promised to play the violin for him once she's been discharged from hospital. A 70-year-old man was pulled from the same building on Sunday, 33 hours after becoming trapped. Rescue operations continued across the port city to locate survivors after 20 buildings collapsed. Turkey is crossed by fault lines and is prone to earthquakes.
Protesters looted shops and clashed with police on Saturday night, as anger against state of emergency restrictions to curb a surge in coronavirus infections reverberated across Spain. Riot police fired blank bullets to disperse protesters who were setting bins alight on Madrid's Gran Via thoroughfare. And in Barcelona, officers were pelted with stones and other projectiles in a second night of disturbances. In the northern Spanish city of Logroño, police reported being attacked by around 150 people who set fire to containers and looted shops. Similar incidents were reported in a host of other cities. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez condemned the violence as intolerable. Spain is one of the countries hardest hit by COVID-19 and, like many other countries, is resorting to increasingly drastic measures to tackle the pandemic. It's imposed a state of emergency until early May, which gives regions legal backing to decide curfews and restrict travel.